They said you were the best in the Parsec.
Welcome to Parsec Passion,
a podcast covering Star Wars TV shows on Disney+. Now we're covering Andor, Cassian Andor. My name's Bubba, and with me, as always, is Clem.
Oh, yeah, that's the name I'm going by for the next 5 days.
How you doing, Clem?
Oh, well, I had an idea of what I was going to do, and then I got roped into this other thing, and then I got mixed up with 6 other people, and I don't know what's going on.
Listeners, we're going to be breaking down Andor Season 1, Episode 4, entitled Aldhani. Off after the planet where this latest heist is going to happen. We'll be looking at the show, doing all spoilers for episode 4 of season 1. We're going to be answering your feedback. Our good buddy Double M Matt Murdick will be breaking down the music in this episode. Plus, at the end of this podcast, my name's Bubba. I'm going to be breaking down my trip that I just did 3 days ago to Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser, the Halcyon in Walt Disney World. What is it like to spend $1,600 for a 2-day vacation?
Well, I wouldn't know, Bubba, because I got sent there for free because I am a podcaster about the Star Wars universe. No, none of that is true. And also, you didn't bring me. Thanks a lot, Bubba.
We're going to be talking about why I didn't bring Catfish later on. But hey, our main thing here is talking about Andor, this television show about Cassian Andor. Catfish. Last week we saw 3 episodes. We talked about all 3. You were what I like to call Luke Skywalker warm towards it. What is your rating for episode 4, Aldhani?
Well, Bubba, at first I was going to give this double B's.
Okay, well, I think you should have stuck with it because double B stands for?
Blastin' Blevin. Our boy Blevin, just torpedoing people left and right. But then, Bubba, you know what?
What?
There's one level up from a double B, and that is a triple P.
A triple P? Hold on.
Yeah, that is Partagaz's punishing putdowns. So I gave this episode 8 out of 10 triple Ps, Partagaz's punishing putdown.
Whoa, 8 out of 10. It's just one step higher, but it sounds like you're much higher on this episode 4 than you were on the first 3.
Well, Bubba, I got real philosophical about this today. Okay, so, fantasy and science fiction can illuminate our lives. You use a mirror and it's sort of, you see things kind of sideways so we can better recognize issues in our lives, through that prism.
Yeah.
And it's going to also give us something that's missing in our lives. So to that end, Andor is pretty good for a TV show, but excellent as a metaphor for office politics and workplace.
Heck yeah.
Let's cover what happened in this very brief episode.
Let's do it.
From that point of view, Luthen makes Vel eat it. Okay? Vel makes her crew eat it. Blevin makes Linus Lickspittle, kiss-ass Kern, and humiliated Hyne eat it. Then he makes Dedra's underlings eat it. Then Dedra comes to tell Blevin to eat it, but he tells her that she's the newbie, so she needs to eat it. Then they take it to the boss, and Partagaz makes Dedra eat it, after which he tells her she needs to get in her quarterly reports. All of this after there was the Monday morning staff meeting where Partagaz made everyone in the room eat it.
Yes, he did.
Me miss working in an office, Bubba. And for that, I give this episode 8 out of 10 triple Ps. It was last week, even though we had 3 episodes, we were looking for our Mandolicisious line of the episode, and I had a hard time. It was very difficult. Today, Bubba, in one episode, there's like 3 times as many as there were
many
first 3 episodes. So for me, even though things are kind of moving forward, I just appreciated the fact that this show is all about office politics. Now, Bubba, I got to ask you a question.
Let's hear it.
So you went 10 out of 10 last week.
I did.
I think smartly wondered. I said, I wonder how you'll feel about it next week when instead of 3 episodes that tell kind of a complete story, we have only one episode that's probably going to cut off with no real ending. So you would be getting what I like to call plot triple Bs.
Wait, plot triple Bs. Is this Blevin again?
No, this is that I thought you might get Bantha Blue Balls because you were not going to be satisfied by where the plot hung you up. So, Bubba, with that introduction, what was your rating of this week's episode of Andor?
You may know me too well. You may know my triple Bs too well, because I am only going to give this 7 double H's out of 10.
Oh, yeah. Wait, double H's?
Double H's are horrible husbands. Mon Mothma's husband invited Ted Cruz and the January 6th insurrectionists to dinner.
And why? Because otherwise they can't have any fun. You know all those great jokes Ted Cruz is always telling.
Oh, so many good ones. So many good ones. It's also that Cassian, our main protagonist, he's kind of passive. He was passive as a kid where he got rescued by Marva and Clem and taken away off that one planet. He was passive.
You mean he was passive when he got knocked out and kidnapped?
Fight back one time. And here he's kind of passively dropped into a mission and he's going to get 200,000 credits, which is a good deal. But he's not so far. I'm sure we'll see him get to this point. I'm sure in some ways that's what they think the series is about, is how do you take this rapscallion who's looking out for number one and turn him into a true believer to fight for the cause. But he's very passive. And even though almost everything in this episode I loved that Mon Mothma was married to a complete jerk. I loved the office politics that you're talking about, the Luthen having to play a role, and the role he's playing is of the nice guy. To play the nice guy, he has to put on a wig and dress up and act it out, practice for a bit. I love everything in this episode. But you are right. It's the fact that these episodes just kind of end, and because I think I am so intrigued in this, I'm getting intrigued for a setup for something I'm not going to see 2 weeks. If I could binge this show, I think I would love it. I think I'd still be 10 out of 10. But those triple Bs that you mentioned, I did feel them this week. So even though, once again, I think I loved everything in it, you're giving me Qyburn dissing people left and right. If you haven't seen Game of Thrones, the actor who plays, how do you pronounce his name again? Partagaz. He was Qyburn on Game of Thrones and great in different character. But here he gets to just wipe the floor with people verbally. I love everything in this. But the fact that it just kind of stops like I just did, it is frustrating. So odd place to be where you love everything in a show, but maybe not the format of it, the chunks of it. Yeah. And so that's where I am. Listeners, we love to say, who cares what we think? We want to know what you think. We're going to read some great feedback later on in this podcast, but please reach out to us. You can do it in a million different ways. If you're on YouTube, you can give us a like, give us a dislike, let us know what you think of these podcasts, and give us a comment down below in the comments. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, a podcast platform, you can give us reviews there, and we really do need them and love them. Or you can reach out to us on things like Twitter and Instagram at DoublePHQ. That's the word double, the single letter P for podcast, HQ for headquarters. Facebook.com/DoublePHQ. It's also available to talk to us there. We care so much about what you think. I mentioned last week that we took a poll of you guys, and the poll was, after watching Andor, do you think kids will like it? Okay. And the answers were yes. This is the way kids will love good stories and they'll love it. Or no, Dank Ferrick, this is quote unquote too adult for kids. And of our respondents, Catfish, seemed to be about 2/3 thought that kids would like it, but about a little over a third thought, no, it's too adult, maybe too slow for kids. What do you think of those results?
That is interesting because I think we both kind of came down on that. For us, we would have been cool as kids to see this show.
Right.
So that's kind of what I think. And also, spoiler alert, neither of us have kids, so we don't need to worry about the type of content they're watching.
Not at all. Boy, if you saw the films that my nephews down to Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser were watching on the plane, they were watching very adult stuff. My whole nephew Paul, for everybody who remembers him, he's still out there going crazy. Hey, let's do some quick hits to get us into this mood and into this episode. So I thought, Catfish, we love Chief Hyne. His demeanor and the way he could just write off the death of 2 security officers in episode 1 of this show. So in this one, he gets demoted and his entire planet gets taken over by the Empire. So I thought we could do a little practice of Chief Hyne describing what happened to him, the fallout from him in this episode. So you ready?
Yep.
Myself and my dedicated team of Detective Inspector Karn and Sergeant Linus.
Hi.
We increased efficiency by removing the bureaucratic middleman and heroically gave the control of this system to people who can manage it better than the Empire. Now, we don't need a parade, but please file that in the report. Chief Hyne signing out. Were you upset that Chief Hyne was real quickly like, I wasn't involved in any of this?
Oh, well, I mean,
it's always good when the boss says that. I had nothing to do with this.
It just goes to show you, once again, bringing into the office realm. You know, if you go to a convention and you're over there drinking and you're not monitoring your underlings, stuff can get hairy, real hairy.
Okay,
let's there drinking, partying.
Right. Yeah, coming up with excuses for crimes everywhere. Let's keep these numbers low.
You know, I was sad because I loved him so much as just shutting our boy Kiss Ass down. But he has been, Hyne's has been replaced as my favorite.
Oh, okay. All right. Hyne's got to have a comeback. We got to get a comeback for Hyne.
All right. Yeah, we'll see him mopping stuff up next week.
All right, hey, let's talk about Cassian's sister, or Kassa's sister. She was such a big part of it, Cassian's motivation. He got into this big mess by trying to find his sister. So we're going to look at each episode, and we're going to see if we can find Kassa's sister in the episode. So here in episode 4, I thought, well, maybe she's new at the Imperial ISP. Maybe Deidre would be Cassian's sister. What do you think? Is it possible it's her, Catfish?
I think, that is a very tasty answer.
Okay.
But she's very fair and blonde.
Yes,
so
exactly.
So I don't know about that. I thought first maybe.
Right, let's hear it.
I mean, I thought maybe Karn's mom.
She's just as feisty as Kassa's sister is, that's for sure.
She really is. I will say this, though. I didn't have the name of it, but, for this week, I'm going to pick the unnamed other woman in the 7. And I reserve the right to change my mind if she doesn't survive.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay. Last week, when we were talking about the first 3 episodes, we had somebody who died a true hero, Timm. Who do you think of this new group of characters? And we met a whole bunch of new characters.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to be our Timm? And this could possibly be not just a Timm, but a mole, somebody who's working for the ISP, working for the Imperials, who's trying to catch that disease before it starts. Who do you think is going to be the mole? Is it somebody on Vel's team? Is it that partner that Luthen has at his antiquities shop on Coruscant? Any idea who could be the Timm or the mole from episode 4?
Well, I had a brief thought that it might be our boy Double G.
Wait, Double G?
Yeah, Gruff Gorn.
Oh, yeah.
People didn't quite catch the name. That is the guy who shows up late to the 7 and goes into a hissy fit. Justifiably, our boy Luthen crapped down on Vel, and she crapped down on everybody else in the team. A lot of lies going on here. What if it's Vel? Why not?
That would be wonderful. People may recognize Vel from Game of Thrones as well. She played the waif, the character, the House of Black and White, who liked beating up Arya on Game of Thrones. So it could be Vel. I think that'd actually be awesome. I had to pick somebody, so I thought maybe the guy who was asleep at the post, and he wasn't really asleep. He was just trying to, not catch any Imperial sentinels. And I also thought he seemed so friendly. So admittedly, that's not Timm behavior to be friendly, but that's my guess so far.
That'd be a shame if we lost him, because he has a real kind of fun spirit. And
he does.
I do like this, dark world, but also, like some lightness in it. And you see how it can be brought. They may have goosed it a little bit this week, especially compared to the previous 3 weeks, but a little bit is welcome for sure.
And then our final quick hit, let's just have a guess. We know that in about 2 weeks, we're going to see this scheme, or I should say, the stealing of the Imperial credits at Aldhani. How many of these 7 that Cassian's on the crew with, he's one of 7, how many of them do you think will die in this operation?
I think it'll be one new Timm.
Whoever that new Timm is, right? Who's going to be jealous of Cassian this week? He's getting too close to Vel. Vel's my girl.
All right, Bubba. So there's 7 when we're done with this escapade. How many do you think we'll have?
I think we'll only have 4. I think 3 are going to eat it, but they'll die in a beautiful meteor shower. Listeners, we love doing things like this, guessing, predicting where the story's going to go. Help us figure out where this story's going to go. Reach out to us on social media. We not only podcast here on the Parsec Passion Podcast feed, we also podcast about the big new Game of Thrones prequel, House of the Dragon. And you can find that by going to all your podcast apps or YouTube and search the Joffrey of Podcast. And in 2 weeks, I can't believe this, we're going to be doing 3 shows in 1 week. What the hell is wrong with us?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe we're just going to be raking in the money.
We sure will. We're going to begin our coverage of Magpie Murders. It is a complex and fun murder mystery, which I've read and Catfish has not read. And so this is going to be a fun test. We're going to look at all the clues and see, can Catfish solve the murders in Magpie Murders? And can you? We want you to join us as well. So once again, you can find out about all this stuff on our social media page. Subscribe to our YouTube page, facebook.com/PHQ. Go on this journey with us for a bunch of fun shows.
Oh man, we've got it all. Whatever you like. Do you like Star Wars content? You like dragon content? Do you like stuffy British murders? We've got it all for you.
And think of this Venn diagram, because those stuffy British people are on both of these shows, right? Like, what if in Magpie Murders, the equivalent of our boy Chief Hyne is there, and he's like, listen, there have been a couple of murders here. We need to cover these. Let's pretend they were bird watching, magpie watching, and they fell dead. That's the end. There we go.
Well, I mean, the show would be the same if it was a mix of an old school, if Magpie was a mix of an old school murder mystery and The Office.
Catfish. I'm not going to say it's exactly that, but it actually does have a little bit of that. So get ready, everybody.
Can't wait. I can't wait.
3 systems this week. Do you want to visit the episode title, Aldhani, first? Do you want to go back to Morlana 1 first, where our boys got dressed down by Blevin? Or do you want to go to our new planet, Coruscant, this week and see what's happening in the Imperial capital?
I feel like since the episode's titled Aldhani, we should end with Aldhani. Let's start with a delicious appetizer, Morlana 1. All
right. So Blevin, who we had been introduced to in a previous scene, he goes there to rip a new one of our 3 heroes. So who do you feel the worst for, Catfish? Captain Hyne, Detective Inspector Karn, or Sergeant Mosk? And I know which one I love the most, but how do you feel about these guys?
I mean, I'm going to go, I feel the worst for humiliated Hyne, Double H, but I just love Linus Lickspittle.
Oh,
he
so
is
good.
Like, excuse me, sir, and he just gets shut down.
Don't raise your hand. But then to make it worse, Blevin says, seriously? I mean, how cold, ice cold. I love it.
Blevin doesn't know what he's missing out on because Linus knows how to suck up.
Yeah, I know he does.
I mean, Blevin has some amazing dialogue, which we will cover later in our suddenly highly, highly competitive Mandolicisious line of the week. but he just upbraids them deliciously.
You know, we had that section just a couple of minutes ago where I said, how would Chief Hyne describe what happened here in this meeting? We also need to have Moss give the pep talk of, all right, everybody, the Imperials are going to come in and they're going to clean shop. I'm getting demoted, everybody, because Moss gave a pretty good pep speech the other day.
Yeah, right. And then Karn's going to say, this is going to be quite good.
Poor Karn. And so let's follow Karn home. He goes, maybe not home. Maybe he just doesn't even have a barrack anymore and has to go see his mom. How do you think that family greeting went, Catfish, when his mom opened the door? Ice cold.
This feels like what I like to call a double M.
Double M?
Yeah, mixed message. It's a slap and then a cry and a hug. I am not sure what to take from this or what kind of family this is, but I'm looking forward to finding out more. Let's delve deep into the psychology of Karn.
Well, I do want to ask you. Now, I don't know the answer either. This isn't something we could read about and know the plot of. But if you had to guess where Karn's story is going, I mean, the story could just end. Hey, you got demoted. You screwed everything up. You got demoted. You alerted the Imperials to this incident, these crimes, and now you're kind of like out of the story. But Karn is not going to be out of this story. Do you see him becoming more and more, I don't even know how stringent? Do you see him joining the Empire? How does he get himself out of this mess he's gotten himself into?
Well, we speculated last week, or at least I did, that Karn, the fact that he's been able to survive this long or be in any position of power must mean that he's got family connections. And I sense that even more this week from his mother's greeting to him.
Yeah, his mother gave him a connection across the chin.
So I think we're going to meet some other family members that he can appeal to.
No, I hope so. I loved Karn so much in those first three, and he was barely in this fourth episode, but he was in it just enough to where I'm still on Team Karn.
There is no doubt about it. Your boy Karn.
All righty. Well, let's go to the center of the galaxy, Coruscant. And we're going into an Imperial Security Bureau. That's what I talk about when I say the ISB. And it's being led by this Partagaz, and he is snapping at his underlings. And Catfish, I had to write this long section out because it was so good. And it is so much like The Wire at times. This show really, really is. Security is an illusion. You want security? Call the Navy. Launch a regiment of troopers. We are healthcare providers. We treat sickness. We identify symptoms. We locate germs when they arise from within or when they have come from the outside. The longer we wait to identify a disorder, the harder it comes to treat the disease. Hell to the yeah. Qyburn is back, baby.
Oh my God. He's so different, but also just as, if not more, delicious here.
Yes. He's going around these reports. Nobody in this room can do anything right. That is for sure. And Blevin is this one Imperial who mentions the trouble on Morlana, and Dedra.
The trouble on Morlana.
Right. The trouble on Morlana, and Dedra, she's like, ooh. Let's look into this. And I love, these guys are so pitiful. Who do you think of our classic three, meaning Sergeant Lickspittle, Linus Mosk, Chief Hyne? There's no way, let's be honest, there's no way that our boy Karn misspelled Ferrex on the report. You think? I mean, these bums, get something right.
That's got to be my boy Mosk. He probably can barely spell anyway.
All right. So it seems like there's this missing component called the Star Path, which we saw in previous episodes. Cassian try to unload to Luthen to make some quick cash. And Dedra, that seems to be her case, and she's noticing missing equipment, and so she wants the case for herself. And she and Blevin get into it. And do you want to talk about Blevin's smackdown of her, Catfish? This line is brilliant.
I mean, he Bubba, I can't even. It is too good. You have got to read that line.
You might want to steady the ladder before you start climbing. Oh, ice cold. I love it.
Man. Yeah. Listen, get out of my way, newbie. That's what he's saying.
We find out that Dedra's only been there a year, and they argue, their argument, Dedra really wants this, and they argue in front of the boss. But Partagaz, do you think he's going to take this lightly?
No. You know what, Bubba? I actually thought he was going to dress them both down just because that's his style. He likes to put everybody down. He's sort of, after Blevin's leave, lifts her up by saying,
oh, yeah, right.
You're part of the new squad, and so we expect more of you, but also get in your quarterly reports. Blevin's has 6. You have 2. Get in your quarterly reports. And then, Bubba, I was a little worried.
Worried about what?
Well, she has that look in her eye.
Oh, no.
Is Dedra going to Karn this up, Bubba? What do you think?
I could totally see that. I could totally see partner in crime. Dedra could totally Karn this up. We need to look at her ISB uniform to see if she's had any work done, taking it, added any piping like our boy Karn had. We need
Dedra did not go down Karn's path.
Now, on another side of the planet, we got introduced to the planet by Luthen, who's going there. And as his ship is landing on the planet, he's putting on a disguise. It's like he's going and getting a fake tan. What in the heck? And he has to practice putting on a smile. Whoa.
Bubba, I see a lot of horror movies. I love horror movies. I've probably seen 4 horror movies in the last month. No moments in any of those horror movies have scared me as much as him putting on that smile and then taking it off. That was truly terrifying. Double.
So it turns out he runs something like a gallery, an antiquity store, whatever it is. And he's got his partner there. And in comes a customer senator, Mon Mothma, who is apparently buying a present for her hubby. But it's really just it's just a scam. It's just a cover, but it has to be a strict cover because Mon Mothma's got a new driver who is most likely a spy for the Empire. Whoa. And what do you think of Luthen's new accent that he puts on when, hey, I'm a friendly guy?
Bubba?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a new accent. I think that's just the sound of him being what I like to call double F.
Wait, double F?
Fake friendly.
Oh, yeah, heck yeah.
And it is the first time we've heard him sound anything other than gruff over the last 2 episodes. So, Bubba, let's let our listeners decide. Was it a new accent or does he sound different when he's happy?
Hold on. You ready?
Yeah.
Cassian Andor, let's go to Chuck E. Cheese and have some pizza and a good time.
And then he does this.
For everybody not on YouTube, you missed some wonderful acting by Catfish with his Luthen smile. That was also very scary. It's a new horror film called Smile, which is out in theaters. Oh my goodness. Now,
man.
It turns out, I guess if we understand this correctly, Luthen has promised Andor a lot of credits and stuff, and who's going to end up financing this? But a senator financing this operation. But she's saying she's having trouble getting the money because she's got spies everywhere. People are watching her. And I found this story fascinating, and most fascinating, here somebody's driving her around and she can't even, she's really got to be careful when she drops her guard, but she goes home and she can't even drop her guard there because these hardcore Imperials, including characters like Sly Moore, which are very deep cuts, but, assistants to the Emperor, it's like, whoa, her husband's invited them to dinner and he's a jerk. He's like, why must everything be boring and sad? Who cares that those star systems got their trade routes shut down and now they can't get any trade? Screw them. I want to have a party, baby. What a jerk.
Oh, man. He is what I like to call a double P.
Wait, double P?
Yeah. Fun boy Perrin.
Right. What do you think's is there any way, because this looks like an icy relationship, and sadly, I know what icy relationships are like. Is there any way that Perrin would turn in his wife, Catfish? Is there any way that the wife would have to kill the husband so he doesn't reveal her evil, her anti-imperial plotting? I mean, what kind of show are we watching here?
I like how you say, is there any way, when both of those options seem more likely than anyone else? I would put it right now, 65% chance he gives her up, 30% chance she has him killed, 5% chance they rediscover the original joy they had with each other.
We used to be good together.
Yeah.
Before you started inviting over Nazis. Come on, Perrin, turn back. Did you find this fascinating? I really did find this fascinating. I did really think, okay, this is the kind of content I want. I know I only gave the episode 7 out of 10, but I did like this stuff. I did like, oh, snap, you can't say anything, because that's what a good spy thriller should do. You want to be on edge. I don't even
know how these two are together. Does she need him for some reason? Because he just seems like a...
You need to say that in a Star Wars term, Catfish. He's a big pile of poodoo there.
There we go. No, I don't need to. This is the adult
Star
that's a
good point.
Show.
Adult Star Wars show. So let's visit lovely Aldhani. And
let's do it.
On the way there, Luthen is still trying to sell Cassian. He's like, listen, I'll give you the money, but, I'd love to not give you the money and you just join the cause. You know what I mean? It'd be like, come with me and fight the Empire. Put a real stick of the eye in the Empire and get paid for it.
And all the very tiny sips of Mednog you can drink.
Oh, man. Mednog is a good name for a product you drink after you've been to the office Christmas party. You know what I mean? The next morning, you're like, oh, I feel terrible. Yeah. Give me some Mednog.
Need it.
But Andor, once again, he hasn't joined the cause yet. He's like, better to live. And so I guess that's a good point. Better to live and fight another day, even though you're not fighting.
I mean, you
better
can
to
say
live
that.
To not fight another day.
I mean, with all the good disses on this show, why didn't Luthen say, you call what you're doing living?
Right. I saw your droid B last week. It's got a better life than you do, you bum.
And a better sense of humor.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Now, for deep Star Wars Easter eggs, Andor's talking about, listen, I was on Minban, which is, if you saw Solo, a Star Wars story, that's kind of the mud planet where Han met Chewie in that film. And so Andor's saying, yeah, I fought in those wars that Han Solo fought in. But it turns out Luthen's real quick to be like, yeah, you weren't fighting, you were a cook. Way to diss combat cooks. Not cool, Luthen, not cool.
Hey, have you ever tried to cook roadkill bantha?
Right,
That's
on a mud planet. Right, that is, not everything tastes better than mud. And so, hey, this is really being thrown together at the last minute, considering in 5 days, they're going to pull this big job. I mean, when did Luthen get the idea of this guy Cassian could be real helpful? Because, I mean, he is, to give Vel in the other 5 credit, Cassian is coming in at the exact last minute. And you're telling me before this, they didn't have a guy who could fly a ship? What do you think about this, Catfish?
This is not very well planned.
Right.
Also, this is everyone in the crew, the Sucker 6, they are completely right that it is too last minute. Who trusts this guy? If they don't have what they need before this guy, that's just what I like to call tough tea.
Adult Star Wars show, if I think I know what the T stands for.
Sure.
Luthen gives Cassian a blue kyber crystal. The kyber crystal is the thing that powers a Jedi's lightsaber. How do you want to describe Luthen's treatment of Vel, who's like his number one on this mission?
I'm trying to decide, Bubba, answer this question for me.
All right, let's hear it. Okay.
Maybe the audience can. Which of these is Luthen being? Is he being a double G?
Double G.
Yeah, Grandpa Grumps? Or is he being a double S?
Wait, double S?
sexist senior. Because one of
Ooh.
these things is true.
Which one is the least offensive? A grumpy grandpa, then that's what I'm going to pick.
I think I think that's the least offensive, but for these people who are all trying, have a belief and a faith, he's really he doesn't seem to be particularly team oriented. You know what? They need to
No.
go on a team building exercise.
Right. They could take those little sheep of theirs. They're like, okay, let's all herd these sheep back into these space sheep back into the pen. And Luthen is being really tough. He's like telling her, not only am I giving you a newbie who you don't really know, and who, guess what? I don't really know. Luthen knows a lot of his background, but does he really know Cassian? He's saying, this has to be a win, Vel. I mean, whoa, let's go.
He also says that Cassian is disposable.
Whoa.
Now I have another question.
I love
here, Bubba.
that.
Luthen,
okay, sure.
I think, is being a double L POF right here.
Loyal listener, POF. Wait. Double L POF. What do you mean?
Liar, liar, pants on fire. If Cassian was so disposable, why did Luthen risk his life, go through all this danger? He doesn't really care about. He wants to draft more people to the cause.
Right.
He's lying to somebody, and I still feel like he did a lot of lying to Vel. He doesn't see.
I think you're right. Yeah.
He's not a good guy. Let's just say he may be on the right side, but he is not a good guy.
I completely agree. Now, what do you think about Vel? Vel seems like she's okay, but even she doesn't want to take any lip from Cassian. She has a great snapback. Save your wind. This is a long walk. Shut your trap, newbie. Love it. Love it. Now they're going to dress up as Shepard and they're going to infiltrate this base, which is right next to a kind of giant Imperial base with TIE fighters and everything.
Yeah, we see some TIE fighters that they hide from, even though they're dressed as Shepards. I guess everyone hates Shepards.
Now there are 7 Catfish. What do you think about that?
So he says, how many of us are there? She says, now there are 7.
Mm-hmm.
But you remember that old movie called The Seven Samurai?
I do. What a great film.
Yeah, that was a good double S. This is not that double S. This
what
double
is
S
this?
is 7 saps. These are 7 saps.
Okay, which one's dopey? Well, the one who fell asleep, he's dopey.
No, I didn't say they were dwarves. I said they were saps. Okay. They would be the deadly dwarves. They're saps. Every one of them is a sap. Cassian's a sap for being roped into this.
Cassian, who's Cassian? I like Clem, the new guy.
Oh, sorry, Clem.
Okay, sure.
I know. Cassian should have said, I want to be Mr. White. He's a sap. Vel's a sap for accepting him. The other people are saps. The kid who was asleep was a sap. They're all saps.
Now, help me out. What are they going to be taking again? They're going to be taking money from the Imperials? Is that what it is?
Yes, they are taking the quarterly payroll for the entire sector.
Now
that's going to be a lot of money. So if I was going to do that, I would say, you know what? Let's say 200,000 or 25%, whichever's higher.
Oh man, 25% would be so much higher. You know it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this though: if you were in a rebellion, if you were, I'm trying to think the real world. Once again, if the stormtroopers are really Nazis, if you are a French resistance fighter or somebody, do you really aim for the money as opposed to let me blow up these weapons of war, or what do you think is the best thing to take them down? I mean, maybe I shouldn't compare it to real life, but why does Luthen, want so much money?
Well, let me answer your question, and then I'll tell you what I really think. To answer your question, number one, you destabilize. They said for the quarter, so that's for a long time.
No, that is a good point.
Destabilize, okay. And then you have completely funded your own enterprises. All that being said, I answered your question, but I also think that there's a separate plan, and that is not what's actually is the plan to steal.
Yeah, I think so too. you say something that Cassian can get on board with and then not realizing, wait, we're getting what?
Yeah.
Doing what?
Yeah. What does it matter? He's disposable anyway.
No, Disposable Clem. What a great show that would make on Disney Plus. Disposable Clem. So, hey, guys, we're going to break down the episode some more. We're going to play some of our fun games. Double M's going to break down the music. We'll talk about Galaxy's Edge. But we really, really want to know what you thought of episode 4, Aldhani. And write to us on social media at PHQ on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook.com/PHQ, YouTube. Give us these comments because we love answering YouTube comments because they are so fun. Catfish.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Are you ready for or more games?
Yeah, hell yeah.
That was terrible. All right, let's hear it.
All right, Bubba, we have the Mandolicisious line of the episode. As I said earlier, this is a packed category this week.
Really
Holy cow. We split it up into funny and badass. So, all right, so go ahead. One of them you mentioned already, funny.
Yes,
Val says to Clem,
save your wind. Oh, so good.
This is a long walk.
Another good one. We've already mentioned. Blevin to Sergeant Mosk. Don't raise your hand. Seriously. Oh, so good. So good. This is going to be tough to see what can win the funny line, but there is one more.
This is my pitch is Blevin. He says this amazing line to our trio of unfortunates. He says, it took the combined ingredients of idiocy, ineptitude, and total disengagement for this farce to have reached the full apex of incredulous disaster.
If Blevin improv that off the top of his head, he's got to win. That's got to win. If he spent the whole trip to Morlana coming up with it, then I'm not going to give it to him. But if he did improvise that, great work, Blevin. That is the best.
Blevin, he used his words and he has the best words.
He does. Is that your pick as well, Catfish?
That is my pick for Blevin. That is my pick for the funniest. And then we have a bunch of badass ones.
Yeah, and I already mentioned one of mine, and I read it. I won't read it again because it's so long, but Partagaz, when his security is an illusion monologue, so damn good. Get it, Qyburn.
Oh, man. Now, I picked 2 others from Partagaz.
Yeah, almost every line he's got is gold. Let's hear it.
One of his lines is, because they've done such an excellent job so far.
Sarcasm much?
And then he says to one of the poor saps in the meeting, don't bother writing the memorandum. I'll reassign it.
Oh, so good, boss. So good.
All right, we still have some more. Let's hear it.
More. Okay, Blevin, I mentioned this one to Blevin snapping down Dedra. You might want to steady the ladder before you start climbing. Oh, snap. I'm going to say that to all the underlings at work. I can't wait.
Yeah, you should. And then one of them you mentioned already, Perrin to his wife. I got to say it now because it's so much fun to say. Why must everything be boring and sad? All right, and this one I have to do the setup. Cassian says, I don't need you to steal. And Luthen says, seeing how well you're doing on your own.
Oh, ice cold. I love it.
But Bubba, just the petulance and the delivery and the complete inappropriateness is, I'm going to go with yours. Perrin, why must everything be boring and sad? What about you, Bubba?
Because, I'm pulling in love from another show for the actor who played Qyburn. I feel so terrible. Hey, he's going to be on the new Netflix show 1899, which we might podcast about as well in November. Oh, my Lord, these shows never end. But Partagaz, I'm going to go with one of yours just because it's so short, because they've done such an excellent job so far. I tip of my cap to Partagaz. So Partagaz, wonderful.
Every line he spoke was just dripping with joy.
All right, Catfish, it's time for the Bounty Hunter Guild battle. Who's going to win the puck? This is where we debate something that popped up on the show, and we wonder, which is the right thing? So we're going to debate today. Let's say you're Cassian Andor. Mm-hmm. Luthen gave you the chance to be dropped at just any old random planet so you could get away. or to join this mission? Ignoring that we know the Empire's bad and the rebels are good, say you're Cassian, what should you have done? Which is the best move for you, Cassian? To stick with this rebel group that you yourself said it's most likely a quick way to die and living's better? Or to get a team, which he ends up getting, whether he likes it or not, through Luthen? What's the right thing, do you think, about Cassian's call? He ended up going with Luthen. It's a lot of money, but is it the right call if you're a scoundrel on the run?
Bubba, I mean, on one hand, I think it's a good idea to hide out on some rando planet.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a good idea if you're going on a suicide mission. So, to be serious about this, I don't think we saw really him make a choice. As you said before, him being passive. This might have been a good place for him to not have huge growth, but like, okay, I'll give this a shot. When I didn't really feel like he was presented with a choice, and it really felt kind of shoulder shruggy to me.
Well, you're exactly right on how I felt it came across in the show and the way Cassian's being portrayed right now. I think he didn't know it at the time, but I do think becoming part of a team when you're on a run, you don't want to be on the run by yourself. And being part of a team, admittedly, if it somehow works, you're going to get some money. I do think that is the right call if you're somebody on the run for murder. So all our listeners who are currently living the fugitive with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones, if Harrison Ford could have gotten on a crew, I think he would have been better off.
I mean, I think that is a great idea. When the law is after you, definitely join a crew robbing a bank.
We're going to Fort Bragg to get some money.
Then there's gold in them there hills.
Well, okay, we do have a third game, Catfish. You want to introduce our listeners to that?
All right, this game is called Andor. What's that secret you're keeping? The question, what question do you want answered in the next episode, or what do you need explained to you about this episode?
Well, because I love Karn so much, the first thing that came to my mind when I was wondering, what's that secret you're keeping? What am I going to learn? I want to know how Karn's going to get back in this story. He has to get back in this story. Maybe let's go the simplest route. Somehow Blevin gets taken out and Dedra is on the case. And so Dedra is going to go to Karn because he knows the most information. She's going to like the cut of his jib because he had his jib tailored, and they're going to get into the story. So that is my what's that secret you're keeping? That's what I want to see. Team Karn.
Bubba, this is amazing. We have so many characters in this show, and yet your standing for Karn is so impressive. You're
Thank
like,
you.
I don't care. Let's not call this Andor. Let's call this show Karn. Let's do a spin-off Karn. I want it
Karn.
to be
Hold on.
40 episodes a season.
We're going to rename the show Karn Andor Partagaz. So, it depends on the episodes. Are we going to get Karn or Partagaz or
don't even try to pretend that Partagaz means anything to you. Okay, he's maybe a brief flirtation for you. You are 100% Karn. That is amazing.
All right. What do you need to know? Let's hear it.
Well, what I want to know, they feel like they're holding back from us. What I want answered in the next episode is, what is their actual mission? I don't believe that it's getting the golds, but what is their actual mission? Are they going to blow the whole thing up?
Ooh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Listeners, what do you want to know? What do you want to know in episode 5 and then episode 6 when this finally gets resolved? Write to us and let us know. And before we get to more of your feedback, which we love so much, let's talk to Double M. Matt Murdick from Musical Concepts, who's going to talk about the score this week on Andor.
Hope everybody is enjoying episode 4 as I did. Last week, we looked at the main theme, which also obviously serves as a character theme for Cassian himself. We heard it used again in this episode in scenes involving him. But this time around, I would actually like to look at 2 other possible themes for other characters in this show. And I only say possible because we're going to need more instances of them occurring around these characters in order to officially call it that. Simply because Nicholas Bottrell does a lot of what I like to call ambient scoring, meaning that he creates moods more than uses a narrative device. But since he is using the Andor theme as a narrative device, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he is creating other character themes as well. And that's the approach that I'm taking as I look at this. Once again, there is no real signature Star Wars sound to this, which I do not mind at all. But I found one musical moment very meaningful, and that is when Luthen is changing into his Coruscant persona, so to speak, and even practicing his mannerisms and all of that. The music that is underneath that takes 2 approaches, and it is thematic in the way that it does repeat and gets altered as the scene changes a little bit from him actually putting on the wig and all of that to where he's practicing his mannerisms. But one thing that Bottrell uses in order to create not really tension, but a little bit of uncertainty is the fact that he uses a pedal point. What I mean by that is the bottom note, no matter whether the chords are changing on top, the bottom note stays the same. So as Luthen was showing us his little secret wardrobe and washing his face and putting on his wig, that's where that pedal point occurred, and you hear chords changing over the top of it, but the pedal point stays the same. It sounds like this. Because that bottom note stays the same and the chords change over the top of it, there's a sense of deep purpose buried down in that bottom note. But as things are changing over the top of it, it also creates this feeling of friction. Because when chords change, we typically expect the bass line to change with it. And that does eventually occur. That last part of what I just played that has all of that tension in it because the top note is almost lagging behind the rest of the chords changing, creates additional friction. But this time when that occurs, as he is practicing his mannerisms, the bass line actually changes with it. And when you have a bass line starting to move after you have had it staying on the same point, it increases the sense of purpose. Also, the melody is being played an octave lower, which also increases the sense of purpose. So the end result as he's practicing his mannerisms is this. As I said, we will have to see if this occurs again in order to actually call it a theme for Luthen. Let's turn to another character, Karn, who is getting chewed out and whatever. And during the time where we follow him on the many trains through Coruscant and through the lift, we hear something that may be part of a theme for him. Again, we'll have to have more evidence as we go along. But during that sequence, we hear this. The interesting thing here is that the melody is not on a chord tone. It's not part of the triadic harmony that we would normally occur. Usually, melodies tend to emphasize notes that fit the harmony. This one fits what we call a passing note. And because of that, you get a sense that something is not right. Now, depending on the context of what you're seeing visually, that not right feeling can be a number of things. Sometimes it can be sadness. Sometimes it can be nefariousness. To me, with Karn going through these paces to get back home to his mom, more or less, I actually felt a sense of sadness. And that was because, to me, it seems like Karn is very disappointed with himself and all of that, and is not really looking forward to seeing his mom. He doesn't want to be there. He wants to have been the guy that did it right, rather than the guy who has been admonished for doing it wrong. But one of the things that I really loved about The second part, when he's in the lift, is the fact that Bottrell uses a very commonly, especially recently commonly used bit of harmonization that is actually hundreds of years old. Composers used it back in the Romantic period, but it hadn't been really used in scoring film until like maybe the last 20 years or so. And there is a technical term for it, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. What I've always called it is just side slipping. And that is where one note, usually the top note, stays the same, but all of the other notes drop down a half step, which changes the harmony. This works especially well when you're going from a minor chord to a major chord. The thing is that because this trick starts with a minor chord and you're moving at such a distance of a half step, one of the more dissonant things that our brains don't like, the second chord doesn't really feel major because that top note is keeping you anchored to the previous minor. I know that's a lot of jargon, so I'll try to shut up now. But see if you don't get a sinking feeling when you hear these two chords played one right after the other. To me, it does. It feels like the bottom is falling out from underneath Karn's feet, right? And it literally is for him, or at least figuratively is for him, because his whole world has been shattered by the fact that he's being punished. So that's all I've got for this week. Back to Bubba and Catfish.
Ooh, great. As always, Double M, thank you so much.
Bubba, do you know what my ambient scoring is?
No, I'd love to know.
It's this. That's my ambient scoring.
What do I always say? My ambient scoring is, I have to be honest. I have to say, I always qualify anything I'm going to say. In my opinion, that's my ambient noise.
Again, as I said, yeah, that's
my
yeah.
My real ambient noise is right to us at Double PHQ. And hey, we got feedback on this episode 4 already from our great buddy Sean Gregan, who's at Hey Ref on Twitter.
Oh yeah, Hey Ref.
Is he not a great loyal listener? He is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to call him a renewed loyal listener. I haven't heard from him in a while.
Hey, well, he was really high on this episode, and Sean wrote, I'm giving this week's episode of Andor 9 double R's out of 10.
Double R's?
That's right. Robin Rebels. It's a great episode. I'm worried for the planet Ferrix now that the ISB have taken over. Oh, sad Syril, a double S. He's like, sad Syril will have a lot to be sorry over. Even his boss getting sacked for not being involved. Oh, Sean is on our wavelength there. We love that feedback.
Love it.
Now, we did get feedback about episodes 1 through 3, and some people were agreeing with you, Catfish. Some were agreeing with me. Some had their own thoughts. So what did some people think about those first 3 episodes?
All right, Dooley's Left Legs at Dooley's Left Legs said, I love the first episode. It kept true to the Star Wars universe and had the right look and feel.
Mm-hmm.
The main characters were decent, and the bot with the stutter was only mildly Jar Jar annoying. Episodes 2 and 3 were okay but predictable. The bigger guy who played the Empire Guard was way OTT, over the top.
Over the top.
An okay 6.5 out of 10 for me. That guy was extra.
He was. And so he was close to a 7, like you gave the first 3. Sean Gregan, he reached out to us after the first 3, and he thought it was very, very, very good. That's 3 varies. He loved it. What's the next bit of feedback we got, Catfish?
It's from another longtime loyal listener, Laura McMillian at MesoCat.
Yes.
She says, it's great to be back with you gentlemen for Andor. For the first 3 episodes, I'd rank them 8, 9, then 10.
Whoa, that is 10 out of 10.
The 3 episodes is Cassian explaining that you just walk in like you belong, which is exactly what he and Jin did on Scarif.
In Rogue One, that is a brilliant point, Laura. That is exactly right. They did just walk in like they belong. That always works, apparently. I love it.
It does. But
now, once again,
this next one because I don't think I disagree with it at all.
Now, once again, last week you gave 7 out of 10 for the first 3. I gave 10 out of 10. And these are all great listeners we're hearing from. Endless Mike, who's at Endless Mike 03 on Twitter. Endless Mike wrote, I agree with Bubba more than Catface. Oh, I hope that's autocorrect.
I don't think so.
He gave it a 10 out of 10 like me. Heck yeah. Endless Mike, what did you think of episode 4? Let us know.
All right. And of even smarter and more handsome loyal listener, Hamlet is
yeah.
dead at Hamlet is
We
dead
love
said,
Hamlet is Dead.
team hashtag catfish for sure here.
Ooh.
Yes.
Well, this will be interesting since we almost kind of swapped positions. You were higher on this one, and I
I
came a bit
was.
down on this one. Endless Mike, Hamlet is Dead. Let us know how you guys felt about episode 4. If we're not calling you out, we want you to be a loyal listener. We want you to be part of the team here at the Parsec Passion Podcast. Talk to us. Let us know what you think of Andor. We are a third of the way through the season somehow. I can't believe it.
Right. We're also a third of the way through this storyline.
So, for anybody still sticking around, I did go down to Orlando right before this hurricane hit here in
Whoa.
mid-September of 2022. And I got on the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll throw up some pictures of the trip. A lot of people, the first thing they think about Galactic Starcruiser when they hear about it is they're like, wait, it costs how much? Now, if you're going as a solo and you can get, 3 other buddies or friends to go as solos, it's going to be about $1,600 to $1,700 for 2 days as a trip. And that's not including your flight. And that is a lot of money. And so that's the first thing people always talk about. The way I describe it is the way I could almost justify it in my head is for these 2 days, it's about the same price that I bought my pedal assist bike. And it cost about that amount of money. And I thought, well, admittedly, I have that bike for years and years and can enjoy it for years and years.
And you use
I got
it to inflate your daily steps too.
That's true. That's true. I certainly do. But I got it for enjoyment. And so this is just a different thing I want to enjoy. So I was like, well, that's not so bad. Now, I didn't have to pay for any kids or families. My sister was on the trip. She brought 2 of her boys. And so she did have to pay. This wasn't like the boys or the children are going to pay equally. But what's interesting about those boys, and I want to talk about them first, is they are both 15 years old. Nephew Paul, who you've heard here on the Parsec Passion podcast before, he is a huge Star Wars fan. Nephew Cam really isn't it. He likes it okay, but he's not really a huge Star Wars fan. But they both went. They both had a great time. And at the end of the trip, they were both like, oh, the next time we do this, let's try this. Let's try that. And of course, my sister's like, next time? How much money have I got here, kids? But even my sister, this is crazy. My sister, Tiny, who you've heard on our podcast about Dark, she said to me at a point during the trip, she leaned over and she goes, I could see how Disney could charge even more for this. Like when you think about how much you're getting, she's kind of like, ooh, maybe you could do it. So I don't want to do any spoilers, but it's a bit like live theater, improv theater that you're participating in as a customer, as well as an escape room, as well as kind of a special effects extravaganza, in addition to, providing you food and drink and board for all this stuff. And so I'm going to tell you my 2 favorite moments that happened on this trip, which aren't spoilers in the overall storyline of the Galactic Starcruiser, but they're so funny. So you kind of can play a character if you want to. So I played a scoundrel. I thought, I'll be like a scoundrel like Lando or Han Solo. And so I'm at lunch one of the days, and I've kind of let everybody on the ship know, yeah, I'm a scoundrel. And so one of the actors, the characters on the ship who are in kind of the big storyline, he comes up to me and he says, they're about to start a sabacc tournament. Sabacc is the card game in Solo, the Star Wars movie that Han Solo and Lando play. And it's a bit like blackjack and poker combined. And so he comes up to me, I'm just eating lunch, and he goes, if you want to enter this sabacc tournament, this card will really help you. And he gave me a card ahead of time. And so then I'm like, well, I guess I have to enter this tournament. And I entered the tournament, and then I used that card illegally. I pulled it out of my pocket to win the tournament. And it was so terrible because everybody was playing for real and I was playing Lando. I was like, well, Lando in that movie pulled a card out of his pocket to win. And so I said, yeah, I'll do it too. And this was something, it's not for everybody. It's they try to, there are about 300 people on this experience, and they try to give people individual things. So sure enough, I won the equivalent of a poker tournament by cheating. I loved it. It was so incredible. I was the only one who got to do it, but I thought, hell yeah, this is great.
That is awesome, Bubba. Now, quick question. So
Yeah.
Is this, you're in the hotel, so do you have admission to Disney World?
To that Disney Hollywood Studios where the kind of Star Wars land is. Yes, you do.
Okay. And do you get, with your inflated pricing, do you get kind of a front of line pass to the Star Wars rides? Okay.
All the Star Wars lines, it's the equivalent of what Disney calls a fast pass. You just show up and they put you right on it.
Okay.
And what's fun, I guess, in some ways, is that because you're part of this experience, you wear a special pin and they can change the pre-show for you. Like normally a pre-show would be like, oh, you're trying to fly the Millennium Falcon. And if they see the pin, suddenly the pre-show is, oh, you're staying on the Galactic Starcruiser and you're going to fly the Millennium Falcon. Oh, you should have stayed on the cruise ship, sucker. You know, like it's really kind of crazy, some of the stuff they do. But then
was listening. Sorry, let me just say this. I was listening to a podcast about the business, and they were talking about Disney and television in the parks. And the guy was saying Disney could charge $600 for a day pass.
Yep.
And get people to pay it. It's just they don't want the PR hit. So I believe for sure that they could charge more for the Galactic Cruiser experience, and they would get it.
Okay, so my final thing I'm going to say, once again, this isn't a big spoiler. So there's kind of a big storyline going on the 2 days you're there. And so one of them is there's this information in a droid, just like in the first Star Wars movie. There's this information in R2. You gotta, get it safety. So we were just sitting in the lobby, my sister, her husband, and I, and one of the characters came by, and just kind of out of the blue, my sister had done a mission to help the droid earlier in the day. She's like, hey, is that droid still safe? Literally, this guy wasn't going to do it. And then he goes, oh, and he pulls us down a couple of flights to a different part of the hotel. And he's like, we're hiding him in this room and we got to sneak him somewhere safe because there are a lot of, first order evil people around. And first order evil people means characters that are actors who are doing this experience, but also customers who've decided to play as first order officers. And so he's like, now we've hidden him down in this room behind the cargo hold. So we go down to the cargo hold and he's like, we've got to watch out for Imperials everywhere. He opens the cargo hold and he sees 3 Imperials. And who are they? 2 of them are our nephews. And he's like, you guys got to get out of here. You're not supposed to be here. So literally we had to sneak this droid from one part of the hotel to another part of the hotel while not be seen by people. And also, literally pulling the wool over our nephew's eyes so they wouldn't notice. It was the craziest, most random thing that they were the first order officers we had to hide them from. But it was so fun. And like I said, these kids want to go again. My nephews and my sister wants to go again. And so it's a lot of money, but people spend their money on crazy things. And if you think 2 days in a nonstop improv theater where you improv too and do escape room type puzzles and stuff is fun, it is actually fun. That's what I can say. Don't spend the money if you don't have it, but if you have it, you want to try it, it is fun.
That sounds great. I just wish they would do that down here on the West Coast, aka the best coast.
I think they're going to try. I think if they keep getting the crowds, I went in September, and so that's at least 6 or 7 months since it opened, and they still had over 300 people in this experience. So they're going to open it on the West Coast. I wouldn't be surprised. But hey, if you have questions about that, hit me up on Twitter. And my individual Twitter handle is @FitandTrim. That's FITTENTRIM. The cheater at Sabak, known as Fit and Trim.
And I am Catfish, a.k.a. Catface. You can hit me up at CJGvan67 on Twitter and GEETOTHEMAN on Instagram. And you'll hear us both next time on
Parsec Passion.